Hey guys, Heroic Flamingo here, bringing you my detailed class guide for the Bladesworn. So in this video I'm going to be looking at the Bladesworn's exclusive weapon and weapon skills. I'll be looking at the healing, utility and elite skills, as well as looking at the new profession mechanics for the Bladesworn, looking at the traits and specialization, and then at the end giving you a combat demonstration. So if you're interested in playing as a Bladesworn, or if you already are and you want to know more, strap in and we'll get started right now. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to give you a quick profession overview for the Bladesworn. So the Bladesworn is the third elite specialization for the warrior in Guild Wars 2, and it's unlocked in the End of Dragons expansion. Advances in Canfin technology have yielded a fusion of firearm and longsword, the gun saber. Only the Bladesworn can handle such a volatile weapon. Yes, you heard that right. So there's a new weapon called the gun saber, which I will be going into in this video, so that's really exciting. Also, you get an offhand pistol as your other new weapon. We've got a new type of skills to look at, which are armament skills, and then quite a few new mechanics to go through. We've got charges and flow, as well as the dragon trigger and stuff like that. So this is a really ambitious new class, I would say, and there's quite a lot to go into. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we're going to have a look at are the new weapons and weapon skills available for the Bladesworn. So this is quite unique because we've got like our new normal weapon, which is the offhand pistol, which I'll be going through now, and I'll be showing off these skills. But that obviously only gives us 2 skills, which is not too exciting. But then we've got the gun saber, which gives us 5 new, as we can see, weapon skills to look at, and I'll be going through them right now as well. One thing to note about the Bladesworn is that you can't actually weapon swap in combat to a second weapon set. I mean, technically you still have 2 weapon sets. You know, you've got this one, and then you've got the gun saber, but there's no other second set that you can use, so you couldn't pair this with some more weapons. I suppose then you'd have 3 weapon sets and then be getting a bit too much, so just thought I'd let you know that, so you can bear that in mind. So first of all, let's look at the pistol. Okay, so it's the new offhand, and our first skill is the gun stinger, and this has an 18-second cooldown. So quickly step forward to strike your foe while reloading your gun. Restores ammo to skill 5. Okay. So it's going to do, it's only from 300 range actually, so it's not like a really long range skill. Got to do it from pretty close. It's going to restore 3 ammo to number 5, as you can see, starts with 6 ammo. It can hit up to 3 targets, going to do damage, inflict vulnerability, and give you Aegis. Okay, so let's have a little look at how this one works. Bam, there you go. So you slide forward, you give yourself Aegis. You're reloading that ability, and you're going to do damage and inflict vulnerability as well. So it's a pretty good one there for moving closer to your target, which probably means you'll likely want to you know, pair this with a decent melee weapon like an axe or something like that, and you could use this to like close a gap or something like that. Let's have a look at our number 5, which is an ammo skill, as we saw there, and it is Dragon's Roar. So fire all barrels in your hand cannon to deal damage to foes in front of you. This skill consumes all ammo when fired and pushes you back slightly. So it's got damage per bullet, can hit up to 3 targets, has a maximum count of 6. So using this will consume all of your ammunition. There's a 5-second recharge per count, and it will push you back 120. The range is only 240, so you do have to be pretty close again. So it's not like a really ranged weapon, to be honest, this pistol, so just bear that in mind. So, bam. There you go, you can see it will explode using all 6 of your counts, if that's how many you've got available. See, after a few seconds we can use it again, but obviously it's not going to be as effective. If we look, bam, it's only got 2 ammo there. But we could use our number 4, bam, that gets us back an extra few, and then we could use our number 5 again there. So using these together is going to be quite important. You can see it pushes you back a bit as well. So your number 4 is going to close the gap, number 5 is going to push you back a bit. So a little bit of movement there as well. So that's a couple of cool skills there with our pistol. But now for the main event. let's have a look at the gun saber. So our F1 ability here, which has a 10-second cooldown, is Unsheath Gun Saber. So as you can see, you've now got this out. There's no time limit on having this out or anything like that. It's not like you can only do it for like 30 seconds or anything, and nothing's going to be drained while you're using it. So it's effectively another weapon set. But while you're Bladesworn, effectively you have to have this as one of your weapon sets. Basically, you won't be able to choose a second weapon set. So do bear that in mind. So let's have a look at these skills then. Okay, so let's have a look at our number 1 ability. So it's a chain ability, and it's Swift Cut, followed by Steel Divide, and then Explosive Thrust. So the first one is Slash Your Foe, so you can do some damage to up to 3 targets within melee range. Second one, you're going to strike the foe again, once again, 3 targets from melee range, a bit more damage. And the third one is going to hit your foe with a final brutal stab and fire a shot that causes a secondary explosion. So you can do a decent amount of damage, melee range 3 targets again, but obviously quite a lot of the damage is going to be weighted towards that final explosive thrust. So as usual, try not to interrupt your chain as much as you can. So let's see, so we've got cut, there you go, bam, and then you can see the explosion on the last one there, which is where obviously you can see most of your damage is going to be. So that's a pretty cool chain move there. So our number 2 is Blooming Fire. This has an ammo charge of 2 with a count recharge of 10 seconds. So slash with your blade and release a volley of explosions. So as you can see, these skills are sort of mixing the gun with the weapon. So we're going to slash them, but we're also going to be shooting some explosive bullets as well. So it's melee range again. It's going to do some damage, then some explosion damage after that. It's going to hit up to 3 targets. So let's give this a go. So bam, there you go. Nice big jumping slash there. And you can see it's got a 2-second cooldown and then 10-second count recharge. So if I use that again, you see we've got to wait a few seconds before that comes back. But yeah, it's just ammo skills. You're probably, if you know, used to ammo skills by now, lots of different classes have them. And this one is, pretty much all of these here are ammo skills. So next up we've got Artillery Slash. So shoot a shell from your sword that explodes on the first enemy hit. So this is actually a ranged ability here. So this is focusing more on the gun side rather than the saber. And this is going to do damage. It's going to cripple the enemies. It's going to hit up to 5 targets. The count recharge is 15 seconds. So this is sort of going to stop enemies from coming towards you, you know, slow them down and stuff like that. So if you've got an enemy coming towards you from decent range, you can just go bam, there you go, and you're pretty much just chucking, you're slashing with your sword and it's chucking an explosive at them and crippling the enemies. So any enemies in that area are all going to be crippled. So that's a pretty cool ability there. Number 4 is Cyclone Trigger. So spin and block enemy projectiles, strikes all foes in melee range, and then fires shots of foes out of melee range. So it's a bit of a mixture there. So it will do some melee damage and some range damage, and also going to block projectiles. So it can be done from 600 range. Obviously, it's going to do more damage from melee range because it'll be able to hit them with that part of the skill. It's going to block missiles for 1.5 seconds. Count recharge is 20 seconds, maximum count of 2. So let's try this out. So first of all, let's try this out from far away. Bam, you can see it didn't hit anyone melee range, but it shot out in all directions to these guys, which is pretty cool. And then let's see from melee range. Bam, there you go, hits them and then shoots it out to these guys. So it's pretty good. It's going to basically, you know, affect everyone around you, both like people who are close by and the ones that are far away. So it's a nice mixture of melee and range there, whilst also blocking some projectiles as well. And our 5th and final skill on the gun saber is Break Step. So lunge forward with explosive force. So this can be done from 450 range, so kind of mid range. Count recharge is 20 seconds. Hits up to 3 enemies and sticks fury on yourself as well. So it's a good way to enter combat. So let's try this out. So boom, there you go. So we can use that a couple of times. As you can see, buffing yourself with fury. And then because it's on a count recharge, I might want to, bam, there you go. So it's a good way of moving around while buffing yourself as well. So that can be a really good skill to use on your gun saber as well. Okay, so that's all of our weapon skills for both the pistol and the gun saber, so that's pretty awesome. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the new and exclusive healing skill. Okay, so now we're going to have a look at the new healing skill for the Bladesworn. So this is actually an ammo ability as well, which is quite unusual for a healing skill, and it's called Combat Stimulant. So heal yourself and enter Stim State. When Stim State expires, you're healed again. Using this skill while in Stim State grants boons. Okay, so you're going to get a decent initial heal, followed by a nice delayed heal as well. Stim State lasts for 5 seconds, so that second heal is going to be after 5 seconds, so that's pretty good. So if you're in combat, that might be quite useful because you get one heal, and then 5 seconds later you may have taken more damage and you'll get another heal. So Stim State, you know, pretty much that's all it does. You just have to wait for it to expire. Like it's saying, if you use this skill while in Stim State, then you're going to grant boons. So that means basically if you're going to use it and then use it again within 5 seconds, because it's got 2 counts, you can use that. And that's going to give you quickness, fury and vigor, so that's pretty cool. But bear in mind there is a 25-second count recharge, so you might not want to use it straight away because you might want to keep that heal back, but obviously those buffs, especially quickness and bit of fury, might be quite appealing. So let's have a look here. So if I use it, I'm going to get a heal, another heal in 5 seconds, but I'm going to use it again, and then look, we've got these 3 abilities here, and then we're going to get another heal, bam, after 5 seconds, and then you've only got to wait 25 seconds for it to come back, but obviously that's only for one count, and then obviously 25 seconds you'll get another count back as well. So that's a pretty unique healing skill. I think it'll actually be quite a good one. I think that's quite a good healing skill, to be honest, so it might be quite a popular one. And I think, you know, if you think about it tactically and find the best way of using it, you know, not only going to be giving yourself some big heals with another delayed heal as well, but some really powerful buffs as well. So that will be one to watch. So now that is the healing skill. So now we're going to have a look at the utility skills. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the utility skills for the Bladesworn. So as usual, we've got 4 new utility skills to choose from, which is this top row here. So I put the first 3 on the bar for us to have a look at now. So first up, we've got Flow Stabilizer. So increase flow rate and gain stability. If you already have stability, gain additional flow rate. So we're going into flow, which is this bar along here. We're going into that in a little bit more detail in the profession mechanics section, but basically you want to get your flow up as quickly as possible, so that's going to be a good thing. So this is using this skill is going to grant stability, so it can't be knocked down, pushed back, any of that stuff. It's an ammo skill, so you get 2 counts with a count recharge of 30 seconds, and it's going to give us positive flow for 8 seconds, which is, means you're going to gain extra flow per second. So effectively you'll just be able to build that up quicker, which is going to lead to your F2 ability, which I'll be going into. So that's going to be quite effective. And it does say gain additional flow rate if you already have stability. So a bit like with the healing skill, it's almost encouraging you to like double tap the ammo skill. So let's have a little look at this now. So if I use that, it's gonna, as you can see, it's getting into combat here. It's gonna start increasing this flow rate, and then you can use it again there as well. You can see it's going to be pumping it up even more, so that's going to be quite effective for getting your flow up. So that might be something that you'll find quite useful if you find that you're using that F2 ability quite a lot. As you can see, that it lasts for yeah, that's good, that lasts for quite a while as well. So yeah, I think it's just 8 seconds. So the next one is a bulletproof barrier. So that is throw a device that explodes when it lands, which leaves behind a barrier that blocks projectiles. Okay, so this is a ground targeted skill that you can use from mid-range. So you're going to throw it down, it's going to do some damage to up to 5 targets in a radius of 180. And then once it's done that, once it's exploded, you're going to get the barrier that's going to block projectiles as well. And it lasts for 6 seconds, which is pretty cool. You can have up to 3 counts, and the count recharge is 30 seconds. So let's throw a few of these around, see what it does. So you can see you throw it down like that, it explodes and then causes a barrier. So you want it to throw it relatively close to the enemy so it damages them, and then it's going to also block those projectiles, as you can see there. It's a really cool looking skill actually, but then like I say, it's got a 30-second count recharge, so it takes a while, but you can use it 3 times. So you should be able to use it quite a lot, which is pretty nice there as well. Our third utility skill is Electric Fence. So throw a device that leaves behind a wall of energy, crippling foes that pass through it. Foes that are already crippled become immobilized. So this is similar to your number 8 ability, so it's ground targeted from mid-range again, lasts for 5 seconds, has 2 counts with a count recharge of 30 seconds. So we're going to throw it down, it's going to cripple enemies, and also, yeah, if they're already crippled, it's going to immobilize them. So let's see. So crowd control ability here, so as you can see, it's only going to do it if they pass through it, so I don't know if it works if you go, so maybe I can try it on this guy, but we've already run out of charges there, but you can see it's going to do that. So you throw it in front of an enemy, like if you throw it in front of yourself here and the enemy's coming towards you, they'll pass through it and they'll become crippled or even immobilized. So that could be a pretty effective crowd control skill there as well, so you might want to be using that. Alright, so I've just swapped out my final thing here, so I've got the 4th utility skill, and this is called Dragon Spike Mine, and has a 35-second cooldown. So this one actually isn't an ammo skill. So evade backwards while dropping a mine that cripples foes. This skill recharges Dragon Trigger. Okay, so we're going to evade backwards. That's going to give us evade for 3/4 of a second. And we can cripple enemies that go over the mine that we leave behind. Hits up to 5 targets in a radius of 120 and does a bit of damage as well. So let's demonstrate that. So if we're here, we want to use this, we're going to jump backwards, we're going to leave this mine, and any enemies that try and follow us are going to set off that mine and it's going to cripple them. So I don't know if this guy's actually, there you go, thank you for the demonstration, you just run straight into it. You can see they're crippled there as well, and that's going to be up to 5 targets that are in the area. So if you've got a lot of enemies chasing you, it might be quite an effective skill to use to get away with from them and potentially switch to like a ranged weapon or something like that. So that would be pretty cool as well. So that's all of the utility skills for the Bladesworn. So the next thing we're going to do is have a look at the new elite skill. Alright, so now we're going to have a look at the new elite skill for the Bladesworn. So this is our elite armament skill, and it's pretty straightforward to be fair, but quite effective in your build potentially. So this is called Tactical Reload and has a 60-second cooldown. So reload ammo on all of your profession skills. So ammo reloaded 1. So obviously, as you know, pretty much all of the skills we've got here are all ammo related skills. So, you know, as well as the ones on your gun saber as well. And that's obviously quite a feature of this particular elite spec. So what this is going to do is it's going to give you an extra ammo back on all of these profession skills here. So as you're using them, so let's demonstrate this. So potentially using these skills, use a couple of those. I'm not sure if it does your gun saber skills as well, so I'm just going to try that. I don't know if the class is profession skills or weapon skills, and if I use this, bam, yep, no, it does them as well. So as you can see, you use that, you're going to get 1 ammo back on all of these skills. So it's something that you're going to want to like fit into your build potentially if you're going to be using these a lot, and a lot of these particular utility skills and everything, so that you can reload them. So it's probably about timing really with this skill, especially like, for example, we said with your healing skill here, it's pretty good to use it twice, so you get the extra buffs, but then maybe you want a bit more healing, so you could use it twice and then use your tactical reload, so then you've got that heal there if you do need it to fall back on. So that's the elite skill there. It's pretty straightforward, but could be pretty good, and you might want to include that in your build as well. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the profession mechanics. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the profession mechanics for the Bladesworn, and there's quite a lot to cover actually, because it's really changed the base warrior mechanics, and we've already been through quite a lot of that already. Obviously you've got your new offhand pistol here, which is not really breaking much ground, but it's an interesting new weapon. The utilities we've been through, the armament skills, they're pretty interesting and quite different. The ammo abilities and everything like that is quite an interesting concept. Obviously the gun saber is something that we've spoken about. Well, we've been through the weapons anyway, and that's obviously a really massive change because you're only going to have when I say you're only going to have one weapon set, technically you'll have two weapon sets, but one of them will have to be the gun saber, so you're only going to have to choose one weapon set. So you can't do a normal weapon swap in combat. You can only use your F1 to sheath and unsheath your gun saber. So that's something to bear in mind. And you may have noticed the flow and charges here, so two mechanics that sort of intertwine, that obviously I'm going to explain to you now. It's not that confusing. I mean, I remember when I first started this character up, I was thinking, this sounds really confusing. I've got like this new F1 ability here, this whole new weapon, I've got charges, flow, you know what I mean? Like, it might be a bit daunting for less experienced players, but to be honest, it's pretty straightforward because the gun saber is going to replace one of your weapons. So that's really good. You're only going to have two as normal, just your weapon swap with F1 instead of your normal weapon swap ability. And let's have a look at this now, because you've got your F2 ability here, Dragon Trigger, which also links up with all of this. So flow. Flow is something that is going to steadily increase while you're in combat. So all I've got to do is enter into combat. So if I hit this guy, we've now got positive flow on ourselves here, which is gain flow per second. You can see that slowly goes up. So it's not like adrenaline. It doesn't go up as you the more I hit an enemy. Like if I start hitting him using some moves, that it's not going to go up any quicker than it already was. There are some abilities. So flow stabilizer here specifically, if you look, that's going to buff that up massively. So you've got ×3 there instead of the normal 1. So you can see that's going to get it up to full as soon as possible. So that's flow. That's how that works in terms of getting it. So just while you're in combat, it will go up. Now to have a look at what flow actually does. Well, as soon as you start getting some flow, you'll notice that this F2 ability becomes clickable. This F2 ability is called Dragon Trigger. And it's got an 8-second cooldown, and basically what it's going to do, so prepare to use Dragon Slash. While channeling you drain flow. Each interval increases the charge level of Dragon Slash. So basically while using this, you get flow drain per interval. So intervals are half a second, so every half a second you're going to drain 10, which means it's only going to take 5 seconds for you to actually drain all of it. There are a couple of skills that while you're in Dragon Trigger that may affect that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into it now and have a quick look. Okay, so once I've clicked Dragon Trigger, as you can see, the flow is going down and the charges are going up. So we've got 10 charges there. So what that's doing is it's powering up your Dragon Slash basically. So I'm going to have a look at that now. So you're completely stationary while you're in this stance. So I can't move around at the moment. You can see once it hits the bottom, you can stay in this stance for a little bit longer. Obviously, there's not really any benefit to that, but it will slowly go up. It allows me to demonstrate these abilities. So first up, you've got Dragon Slash Force, which is slash foes in an arc in front of you, ending Dragon Trigger. This attack consumes all charges to deal more damage. So this will use all of these 10 charges. So this is why you want to wait for the charges to stock up. The more they stock up from 1 to 10, the more damage you'll do. Obviously, it means you'll be stationary for more time, so you'll be taking hits from enemies. So if you do it quickly, then you're going to be doing less damage, but you'll be able to use other skills. But if you wait, you'll be able to get the optimum level of damage. So the number 1 is just Dragon Slash Force, which is just a nice quick hit, which is going to do the ultimate amount of damage from melee range. Hits up to 5 targets. Second one is Dragon Slash Boost, which is dash forward while slashing all foes in a line, ending Dragon Trigger. This attack consumes all charges to deal more damage. So the same idea, but from further away, and you're going to dash towards them, do a little bit less damage than than force, but you can do it from a bit further away. Okay, yep, so Dragon Slash Reach, which is slash to create a blade of air that strikes foes in a line in front of you, ending Dragon Trigger. This attack consumes all charges to deal more damage. So this one's from even further away, and this is going to strike foes in a line. So it's going to hit multiple enemies in a line, but do a little bit less damage. So that's 3 different types of Dragon Slash there. They all take you out of Dragon Trigger and use all of your charges. The more charges, the better. But each of them has their own special effects, basically. 4th one here, Trigger Guard. So you just gain Aegis. So potentially you can just use that. It doesn't end your Dragon Trigger, but you can see it just uses the allows you to block an attack while you're in it, while you're building up your charges. And your number 5 is Flicker Step, so blink to a location. So this also doesn't end your Dragon Trigger. Has 2 counts with a count recharge of 60 seconds. So let's just see. You can't go too far, as you can see, but it's a good way of going around. And then you can use your number 4 as well. Oh, pressed the wrong one there. Let's go back into it. So you can see, yeah, so what you want to do is you want to let it build up, and then obviously as soon as you get to 10 charges, you're able to use whichever one you want. So there you go, that's the one that shoots it in a line, or your number 1, which is going to do the maximum amount of damage. So this is a interesting concept. It's very different to things that you've experienced previously. I'm not sure how exactly is the best way to sort of use it. Obviously I have to play the build a little bit more. It's not going to be very effective, I assume, to sort of press F2 and then straight away use one of the Dragon Slash abilities. You kind of want to time it right so you get the maximum amount of charges. So if I try it, say, let's go right up to this guy, press F2, wait for that to get to 10 charges. As soon as it does, bam, there you go. Nice amount of damage there. And I think they showed off in the preview for this class that, you know, if you get loads of buffs and stuff like that and you time that right, you can do a ton of damage with that hit, with all the right traits and everything like that. So that's quite an interesting thing to look at as well. So that's your Dragon Trigger ability, which is interesting, and that's how the charges work. So the charges aren't a massive part, they just interrupt that Dragon Trigger. They're nothing to do with all your other abilities. So that's why it's not too confusing, because it just interlocks with your flow, and basically these are only relevant to the Dragon Trigger. All the gun saber stuff is separate from that. So I think that's everything for the profession mechanics for the Bladesworn. So now we're going to look at the traits and specialization. Okay, so now we're going to look at the specialization for the Bladesworn, as well as the individual traits within it. So obviously the Bladesworn is an elite spec, so it goes in your 3rd slot here. And just by having it on your bar here, you get pistol proficiency, which means that you can wield a pistol in the offhand, which is obviously something we've already been through. Your first passive here is giving you all of the things that we've spoken about. So gun X sword. So gain access to the gun saber as an alternative weapon set, but lose the ability to swap to other weapon sets during combat. Adrenaline is replaced with flow. So obviously we've been through all that. It says flow is gained at a constant rate while in combat and decays quickly when combat ends. Attacking will not generate flow, and flow cannot be used for core warrior burst skills. Skills and traits that generate adrenaline will have their adrenaline gain converted to flow. So that's an interesting point that I didn't speak about before, which is any adrenaline pumping skills will just give you more flow quicker. So that's still something you could potentially take advantage of. In terms of our choices, first ones we've got here are River's Flow, which is incoming healing increased. Healing yourself increases flow rate. So 10% incoming healing increase, and then for 5 seconds you'll get an extra positive flow stack on yourself. Swift as the Wind, so movement skills grant swiftness and increase flow rate. So any movement skills you use gives you swiftness, so obviously 33% movement speed and an extra stack of positive flow. And then Unseen Sword, so swapping weapons strikes all nearby foes. So after a delay, deliver a circular attack to foes around you, increasing flow rate if it hits. So any swapping between weapons, you get that extra hits there, and also buffs your flow. And then here our next passive is Dragon Scale Defense. So if you're struck while in Dragon Trigger, gain protection. So when you're in Dragon Trigger, obviously when you're stationary in your F2 ability, anyone hits you, you're going to gain protection, which is going to decrease your incoming damage, which is really good. Next choices, we've got Unshakable Mountain. So using the final round of ammo on an ammunition skill grants barrier. So, you know, if you've got an ammo skill here, like your healing skill, as soon as you use the last one, so that goes down to 0, you're going to get barrier on yourself, which is like a shield on top of your health. So it's a good defensive trait there. Next we've got Fierce as Fire. So using the final round of ammo on an ammunition skill drops a flame shell that burns nearby foes. So like we said, if you use the last ammo on a skill, but this time it's going to burn foes in a small area, so up to 3 targets in a radius of 120 around you, bit damage and some damage over time as well. Here we have Lush Forest. So using the final round of ammo on an ammunition skill reduces the recharge of all equipped skills. So recharge time reduced 1 second. So whenever you use the last ammo, which to be honest, if you've got a lot of ammo skills like you have along here, then potentially that will be quite common. So you'll be using that quite a lot, and then what that's going to do is just going to knock a second off all your recharge times. So that'd be pretty good. Final passive here is Guns and Glory. So gain ferocity for a short duration when you hit with an explosion. This effect stacks duration. So a lot of your skills are on the gun saber and everything like that are going to be explosion skills. So whenever you hit with an explosion, you're going to gain ferocity, which is good, which is going to increase your critical hit damage. Maximum duration is 10 seconds. And these choices, we've got Immortal Dragon. So Dragon Slash heals you for a percentage of the damage dealt. So healing 8%. So whenever you go into your F2 and use your Dragon Slash, you can actually heal yourself at 8% of the damage you deal. The damage on that can go quite high, so that even at 8% could be a decent amount of healing. So that could be something you could exploit. Next up is Unyielding Dragon. So Dragon Slash becomes unblockable, ignores blindness and stuns foes on hit. So they won't be able to block your Dragon Slash ability. Blindness, if you've got that, that won't affect it. And also stuns foes for half a second as well, per charge. Half a second per charge. So if you've got 10 charges, supposedly that's 5 seconds of stun. So that's pretty powerful. And then finally we've got Daring Dragon. So Dragon Slash has a lower maximum charge level, but re-enters Dragon Trigger if you can pay the flow cost. So lower maximum charges, so that means you won't do quite as much damage, but you'll go back into Dragon Trigger if you can pay the flow cost. Flow cost is 10, so that's going to mean you'll be able to use Dragon Trigger more often, but it's just slightly less powerful. So that's just something that you might want to potentially use there if that's more effective for you, if you want to use the skill quite frequently. So that is all of the traits on the Bladesworn specialization here. So that really covers everything we need to talk about for the Bladesworn. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave you with a combat demonstration, which I'm just going to show off all these new skills just so you can see what they look like in action. So thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe to be kept up to date, and I will see you later.
Reload! Gaining.